Hello and welcome back.
Yes, you're still watching World Hour from Jakarta.
Now, Governor of Jakarta, Basuki Cahayapurnama, has given his clarification of the allegations of blasphemy pointed at him.
His controversial statement, which cited a Quran verse, has aroused protests from several Islamic groups at the Office of Criminal Investigation of the National Police.
Before arriving at the police, the governor paid a visit to the state palace. However, no details of the visit were disclosed. Governor Basuki arrived at the police on 10:15 a.m. and left about 2 hours later. On the occasion, he gave clarifications regarding the statement he made during a visit to the Thousand Islands, which generated controversy.
Ketidaknyamanan ini saya sampaikan mohon maaf ada yang tersinggung. Nah, tapi tidak ada niat saya untuk menista agama, menghina Al-Quran atau menghina umat muslim.
Dia jelaskan semua, kemudian dengan video potongan, apakah ini ada pengeditan, ada yang menyisipkan, dan ini ternyata beliau bilang tidak ada.
The police said that the governor's visit is not for questioning, but to clarify the reports filed by several groups.
Now to talk about Islam and politics in the Jakarta elections, we have Professor Vedi Hadiz, expert of Asian Studies at Melbourne University. So, what do you think about, the Islam being used to mobilize voters in the Jakarta elections?
Well, first of all, they're banking on the idea that people who have an Islamic identity will vote according to that identity, right? People who feel that they are Muslims will have a preference to vote for people who are fellow Muslims, or at least people who don't denigrate Islam. Now, that assumption itself is a bit of a problem if we look at Islamic politics sort of more globally. In other cases, such as in Turkey, let's say, or in Egypt, we can see that Islamic parties really only are able to mobilize large amounts of votes, so people's Islamic identity gets translated into their political behavior if they are able to deliver things that are concrete. Like the AKP in Turkey has been able to improve the social position of Islamic businesses. It's been able to provide through networks of charity organizations, delivery of social services to the poor. The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, before it was in power briefly, also was able to cement people's loyalty to the organization because it provided things that are concrete: free healthcare, cheap education, social delivery of services. Now, the problem in Indonesia is that Islamic political vehicles don't do that, right? So it is still, the puzzle in Indonesia is that 88% Muslims, how come the Muslim parties always lose? One of the reasons is that they're not able to deliver anything concretely. People don't vote because there is a promise that they will go to heaven. People vote because they want to know that the people that get into power will do things that are concrete to improve their situation in this present life. Now, these organizations that are now attacking Ahok for his statement are at the fringes of the political system of Indonesia, right? They're not actual competitors. They are, mass organizations and so on that we've seen get involved in the past, directly or indirectly, in inter-elite conflict, right? So, I guess what we need to look at is what they're doing now is something that directly or indirectly actually benefits people that are going against Ahok. They may not, say that they condone these activities, but certainly they are benefiting from the efforts of these people to paint Ahok as somehow, belligerent towards Islam.
So we can say that there's like Islamic political parties should do more than just like saying choosing Ahok is haram or unlawful to according to Islamic belief?
Well, if they're going to want to win things, yes, because at this point, I think there's a great deal of distrust amongst the public, of the institutions of Indonesia's governance. And you see that all the polls show that, amongst the least trusted institutions are parliament and the political parties. Now, the Islamic parties are not accepted from that rule. Why? Because they behave exactly like the other parties. They are also involved in money politics, they're involved in corruption scandals, they're involved in all sorts of things that are unsavory, right? Therefore, even people who have a strong Islamic identity will be prone to think, well, what will they actually do if they're in power? I mean, we see this, for example, with the PKS. Well, the PKS had originally come out as a party, of integrity, right? They were the party of reform because there were these young sort of intellectuals and pious people at the head of it. In 2004, in the legislative elections in Jakarta, they actually had the highest number of seats. 2009, the Democrats had more seats, although nationally the BKS seats went up. 2014, they were stagnant nationally, and in the Jakarta legislative elections, they were number 4. Now, what does this show? This shows that even though they might have a constituency of pious, let's say, middle-class people who sympathize with their rhetoric and their ideals, right? They see that this party has also been involved in lots of, scandals. It's just the meat import scandal, and this, they were at the forefront of the effort to make Suharto into a national hero, which is, why would an Islamic party have that at the forefront of their agenda, right?
Yeah.
So people start becoming distrustful and questioning whether they are really the party of the pious. Now, the result of it is that just talking about Islamic identity, making appeals to Islam, it will get you somewhere, right? But it won't necessarily get you directly to the center of power. It has to be combined with other things.
So in the context of Jakarta elections, do you think like just by attacking Ahok from his ethnicity background or religious background will not be effective?
Well, I think it will have some effect, but I don't think it'll be, let's say, the deal breaker, right? Because a couple of things. Whether one agrees with him or not, it seems to me that the reality is that a fairly large proportion of the Jakarta electorate actually thinks that he's doing things. And they're not used to governors that actually do things, right? I mean, Jokowi had that, right? But, we have to go all the way back to Ali Sadikin to think about a governor who actually did things, right? So they like him. He's an action man, so to speak. He may be Chinese, a Christian, but he gets things done. He takes care of the floods, etc. Sort of Pungli, these sorts of things. He's there. Now, what in a healthy democracy, really, what people should be doing if they were going to go after him to diminish his popularity, is to go after the things that one can question his judgment on. And these include things like the Sumber Waras scandal, the land reclamation scandal in North Jakarta. These are the things that in a healthy democracy, one would fight over. You would demand that he, defend his policies on these things. I suppose the hope is that you have that, and then you combine it with questioning his morality by talking about his purported denigration of Islam would combine and create the impression amongst a large enough of the people that he's not the preferred governor. But I think that that's a bit of a long shot because he does have a record right? And even though his rivals are people who are sort of have reputations like Anies Baswedan or well backed
Yeah.
like Agus, they don't have that record that he has. Now the problem is, and I must say that I'm fairly disappointed that neither of them have said to these people who are organizing these things, stop it. This is not the way we conduct democracy.
All right.
As rivals, as people who want to have a claim to the Jakarta governorship, they should want to, sort of contribute to creating a more healthy democracy, and they should not be taking advantage, albeit indirectly, of activities that actually just besmirches our democracy.
Now, before we go, I'm curious about mass mobilization, how that works, and how does that motivated by?
Well, if you look at these organizations, all right, I'm talking about organizations like the FPI or the FRP, okay. What is their constituency? Their constituency basically consists of the urban poor, people who lead a very, very precarious lifestyle, right? They don't have secure jobs. There's no social welfare in Indonesia to speak of, really. There's no social safety net and so on. Now, by joining these groups, right, they're allocated things like a job as a parking attendant, as a security guard. They get to wear uniforms, and they get to have a social support network, so that, let's say they go into debt, they're able to borrow money, or they have a social support network that otherwise wouldn't exist. And that's why they have this loyalty, or they tend to join these organizations. It is not always simply because of an ideological attachment. That ideological attachment is sort of inculcated when you're in the group, but people, sort of become attracted because, well, here, I can actually try to carve out a livelihood in a city where it's really difficult to live a safe and healthy life.
Most definitely, they provide something that most institutions cannot provide.
Exactly.
Most definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Right, Professor.
we don't have an extensive welfare system. Our healthcare system is only just starting.
Yes.
And if you're really poor in Jakarta, you get sick, you die.
Okay, Professor.
Okay. Thank you so much,
so much for your time.
Professor.